Good morning, students. Today I would like to take you to the state of Bengal. And the chapter which today, the story I would say, which we are dealing with is Drought, written by Sharat Chandra Chatterjee. Now, Sharat Chandra Chatterjee was one of the most popular storytellers of Bengal. He was born and lived his early life in the midst of poverty. He was born in a very poor family on 15 September 1876 in the village in the Hooghly district of Bengal. And he spent about 20 years of his life at his maternal grandfather's house in Bhagalpur, and a lot of his work is based on his experiences and characters he encountered there. I would just like to add one statement that as a writer, as a storyteller, we often write something which we have experienced in our life, or the creative person, when he looks around and he look at his circumstances, he looks at his conditions, some spark or some conditions force him to pen down a story. Story sometimes, though it is a fiction, but it is not fiction absolutely, rather, there is an element of reality in the fiction also. So he was Sir Charatchan Chatterjee. He went to Burma in 1903, and he worked as a clerk in government office. And he was a writer who wrote about the Bengali society, and especially the rural Bengal society of 19th and 20th century. And his characters are real. They are real, drawn from the real life, from his own surroundings. He was somewhere, when we read Sharat Chandra Chatterjee, we are reminded of Munshi Premchand also. Because these were the writers, the storytellers, who not only wrote out of their real life experience, but who wrote against suppression and oppression. And they championed the cause of sufferers. He used a simple language of rural Bengal, and the universal appeal of his story can be judged that his stories words, they were translated into many languages during his lifetime. So Sharachan Chatterjee, he died in Kolkata in 1938, but his works are widely read. Now let us read the story, and I would like to read some part from the story, and I would like to tell you in detail about this drought. The story begins with the narration, and the narration is the village was called Kashipur. It was a small village, but its zamindar was smaller still. Yet his tenants dared not stand up to him. He was so ruthless. It was the birthday of his youngest son. It was noon. Tarak Ratna, the priest, was on his way home from the landlord's house, where he had been offering prayers. It was nearing the end of May, but not a patch of cloud could be seen in the sky. The rainless firmament poured fire. At the end of the field, beside the road, there stood the house of Gafur, the weaver. Now that the mud walls were in ruins, the courtyard touched the public highway, and the inner privacy was thrown on the mercy of the passers-by. This is a beautiful picturesque description of entire background of the story. We at once come to know that we are in some village, the surrounding is village, the background is village, the name of the village is Kashipur, the landlord is a ruthless fellow, and the introduction of one priest, Tarak Ratna, also had some symbolic meaning in itself, and we can come to know, the readers have a hint of how he used to oppress the poor people. The old weaver, the weaver, Gafur, actually he was the weaver, and he was living in the mud walls, but we can also conclude that his condition is poverty stricken. The house is almost in ruins, and see how writer is writing. The courtyard touched the public highway, and the inner privacy was thrown on the mercy of the passers-by. Hey Gafur, is anybody in? Called out Tarak Ratna, standing in the shade of a tree by the roadside. What do you want? Father is down with fever, answered Gafur's little daughter, aged 10, appearing at the door. Fever? Call the scoundrel. The noise brought Gafur out, shivering with fever. A bull was tied to the old acacia that leaned against the broken wall. What do I see there? Demanded Tarak Ratna, indicating the bull. Do you realize that this is a Hindu village and the landlord himself a Brahmin? His face was crimson with indignation and the heat of the sun. It was to be expected that his words should be hot and harsh. But Gafur simply looked at him, unable to follow the import of his words. Now, this is a way of narration which is remarkable in itself. Sharatan Chatterjee, how he presents a picture before the readers that Gafur is inside, he's shivering with fever. He has a daughter who is 10 years around, who is aged around 10 years, and she stood at the door and answered to the call which was for her father. Tarak Ratna, the way he spoke, it reflected that he had all authority to talk like landlord. And sometimes we see that in village there are characters, there are priests, there are persons who seems to be a mouthpiece of their lords. Their lords actually do not speak, but they speak on their behalf. So here Tarak Ratna, he spoke, and what he mentioned. Now, I would just like to draw attention of you students. You please take note of it. That what he's saying. He's saying this is a Hindu village, and the landlord himself a Brahmin. Now here we can find out that there is something which is going under the belt, the caste the discrimination based on caste. And we come to know that since Gafur, he is Muslim, the landlord and his priest, they do not like him. They dislike him. The reason is that he does not belong to their caste. Well, said Tarak Ratna, I saw it tied there in the morning and it's still there. If the bull dies, your master will flay you alive. He is no ordinary Brahmin. Now, another character or another, I can say that the cause which will create the whole havoc here is a bull, and we come to know that Gafur owns an old bull who was tied to a tree. Now Tarak Ratna is concerned about bull, and he says he's not concerned about his being very inhuman, and he's not concerned about Gafur's fever or anything else. He's only concerned that this bull is tied, and in case he dies, what will happen? What shall I do, Baba? I'm helpless. I have had fever for the last few days. I can't take him out to the gaze. I feel so ill. Can you let him graze by himself? Can't you let him graze by himself? Where shall I let him go, Baba? People haven't threshed all their paddy yet. It's still lying in the fields. The straw hasn't been gathered. Everything is burnt to cinders. There isn't a blade of grass anywhere. How can I let him loose, Baba? He might start poking his nose into somebody's paddy or eating somebody's straw. Tarak Ratna softened a little. But you can at least tie him in the shade somewhere and give him a bundle of straw or two or much. Hasn't your daughter cooked rice? Why not give him a rub of boiled rice water? Let him drink it. Gafur made no reply. He looked helplessly at Tarak Ratna, and a deep sigh escaped him. I see you haven't got that much. What have you done with the share of straw? I suppose you have gone and sold it to satisfy your belly. Not saved even one bundle for the bull? How callous you are. At this cruel accusation, Gafur seemed to lose his power of speech. This year I was to have received my share of straw, said Gafur slowly after a moment's hesitation. But the master kept it all on account of my last year's rent. Sir, you are our Lord and master, I implored, falling at his feet. Where am I to go if I leave your domain? Let me have at least a little straw. There's no straw on my roof, and we have only one hut in which we two, father and daughter, live. We'll patch the roof with palm leaves and manage this rainy weather somehow. But what will happen to our Mahesh without food? Indeed, so you are fond enough of the bull to call him Mahesh. This is a joke. Now, with this conversation, we can make out very pathetic situation of Gafur. This fellow, he is almost starving. He has nothing in his hut, not even a rice bowl full of rice water. He has no straw because whatever straw he could earn has to pay as a last year's rent, and now he has nothing, he's penniless. Now Gafur he has no option with him only to tie the bull, because if in case he leaves the bull loose, he would go and eat somebody else's paddy, and that would also be a blunder on his part. And Tarak Ratna, he did not now see how biased he was. He said that why did you name your bull Mahesh? Why did you name him Mahesh? It means you call him Mahesh, and that you are doing with purpose. But his sarcasm did not reach Gafur. But the master took no pity on me, he went on. He gave me paddy to last only 2 months. My share of straw was added to his own stock. Mahesh didn't even have a wisp of it. Well, don't you owe him money? Said Tarak Ratna unmoved. Why shouldn't you have to pay? Do you expect the landlord to support you? But what am I to pay with? We till 4 bighas of land for him, but the paddy has dried up in the fields. During the droughts in the last 2 years, my daughter and I have not even enough to eat. Look at the hut. When it rains, I spend the night with my daughter huddled in one corner. We can't even stretch our legs. Look at Mahesh. You can count his ribs. Do lend me a bit of hay for him so that he can have something to eat for a day or two. And Gafoor sank down on the ground at the Brahmin's feet. This is indeed a very realistic description of not only one farmer but other peasants, other workers who had been working in our country. They were simply at the mercy of the landlord. And they did not have even right to speak to their landlords. They have to explain it to their mediators. And we can see that in this story, how Tarak Ratna, like a cruel mediator, is not moved at all. And he says that, no, I don't know anything. Gafoor keeps on telling him that, look at it, I have nothing to eat. I have nothing to feed my bull. We have only one hut, and that hut is also not protected properly, because during rainy seasons, when it rains heavily, we have to huddle in one corner, and how we spend the whole night, that is inexplicable. But all these pathetic description leaves the person Tarak Ratna unmoved, and he says, no, no, let me go home, it's getting late. He made a movement as though to depart. Good God, he seems to brandish his horns at me. Will he hurt me? He cried out with fright and anger, stepping hurriedly back from the bull. uh, Tarak Ratna, he went close to Bull, and Bull, since he was tied, he seems to be angry, and he was shaking his head, and he is scared of his horns and says, "Good God, help me! I'm going I'm scared whether this bull would hurt me, and I can get hurt by it." Now Gafoor staggered to his feet. He wants to eat a handful, he said, indicating the wet bundle of rice and fruit in Tarak Ratna's hand. Wants to eat, indeed, like master, like animal. Now we get a hint that why Bull was getting restless, because Tarak Ratna was having a bundle of rice and fruits in his hand, and that was tempting enough for an animal especially who is starving, who is hungry. So Gafoor staggered on his feet and said, "Sir, can you give a bit of straw to eat, and must have rice and food? Take him away and tie him somewhere else. Uh, he will he will not do anything, and no, he will do no harm. And please give him something, otherwise he might get angered and he might gore somebody to death one of these days." Edging a little, the priest made a quick exit. But the priest, he seems to be unmoved with all the situation, and he leaves him, and Gafoor is absolutely left behind in a helpless situation with his daughter and bull Mahesh, who was a hungry animal. So I will come with the next part of my lecture, and we shall bring to an end, and let us see what happens in the coming part of the incident.